Newcastle, that we've obviously talked numerous times about their PSR issues. That the Athletic reported that they missed out on deals for Kusanov, Reece, and Jumabara, all that are signed for Manchester City. Is PSR restricting them really from making any real moves to those kind of players at the moment in time?
Well, it definitely doesn't restrict Juma Bar. I mean, Juma Bar is an 18-year-old. I think he went for €5 million. So I think you can put that to one side. Kusanov, could they buy a £30 million player? I mean, I don't see why not. Because as we talked about before, you buy a player today, and your PSR cost for this current season is the transfer fee divided by 5, and then, so if it's 30 million, £6 million, and then it's 5/6 of that for the season, because there's only 5 months left of the financial year. So it's not significant, and then his wages are not that significant. So I don't really buy that. That's the key driver for why they've not been able to buy anybody. And I would expect them still to be in the market on Monday for somebody. They have sold Almiron. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's not going to. I would think his book value is very low. Probably most of the. I think they got about $10 million, about £8 million. So I think overall that they'll have a little bit of leeway from that. But we know that they're tight on PSR still. That's not a surprise. We know that they went to the wire last year. So none of it's a surprise, but I don't think it's the key driver for some of these smaller deals. They can do smaller deals. They're not going to move the dial. They're still going to, it's within this range that they can't be sure about anyway right now, because they don't know where they're going to finish. They don't know, they don't know what they're going to maybe. I mean, prize money is kind of irrelevant because they're only in the domestic cups, and so that's not going to move the dial particularly. But league place could move the dial quite considerably. It could be worth £6 million extra versus budget. It could be worth a bit more. Then again, I guess if they did qualify for the Champions League, then they'd have a whole load of bonuses that needed to be paid in this current financial year, that probably where they get the benefit next year. So maybe that's a concern for them. And then, of course, that they can scramble around like they did last year around June and try and do something in June in terms of moving players on and swapping players and all the stuff that they did last year. So, yeah, as I say, they're definitely tight, but I wouldn't put the failure to buy players at that scale down to it. I don't buy that.
I guess for Newcastle, it is another window though as well, where they look to be keeping hold of some of their best players as well, which must be a positive for them. There was a report around that they're going to offer Alexander Isak a new contract at the end of the season after insisting he's not for sale again. Do you think that could be like the biggest offer in their history they've made to a player given his value?
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be the highest contract. Like the reason that they've managed to hold on to their big players is because they'd be very expensive to sign Guimaraes or Isak. And there's just very few teams that can play that game and can compete at £100 million plus signings. I think Arsenal could do it if they really, really wanted to, but it would be out of kilter with their usual approach. Although, of course, they did buy Rice for about 110. But if it wasn't Arsenal, who's going to buy Isak? Who can afford Isak? Basically nobody. I mean, and I include pretty much everybody. I mean, Bayern Munich are not going to buy him. They've got Harry Kane. PSG are on they seem to be in a new world where their acquisitions seem to be in that 60, 70, 80 million pound range. So they're not going to pay 100. Nobody in Italy can pay 100. City don't need Isak as a priority. I mean, clearly you always want quality players, but City won't buy Isak. So, there's no buyers. I assume he doesn't want to go to Saudi. I mean, I'm sure Saudi would love him, but I assume he doesn't want to go. So, and then even then they'd have to fair market value the transaction, which will cause them a bit of an issue potentially. I don't think, I think you could justify 125 quite easily on him. But anyway, the bottom line is there's not many places he can actually go. So Yes, they'll offer him a new contract. He's already got quite a lot left on his contract, but he's clearly one of the best players in the Premier League right now. And I don't see him moving anywhere. And I think the same applies to players like Guimaraes. I think Guimaraes is even harder to move on because he's going to be 28 in the summer. And I think, as we talked about just earlier, I think the action in the market tends to be at a younger age. If people are going to spend big, they want to be getting much longer than 28 to 32 as their core years. They want to be getting, if they can, 4 more seasons on top of that.